Memphis, Tennessee. It's known for many things: barbecue, Beale Street, Elvis, the National Civil Rights Museum, Graceland, and Sun Studio. Sun Studio is known worldwide as the birthplace of rock and roll. If you type 706 Union Avenue, Memphis, Tennessee into your GPS today, you can still tour one of the most famous rock and roll locations in the world. Memphis is filled with legendary music locations like Beale Street and Graceland, but only one spot marks the place where rock was born. After producer Sam Phillips opened the business in 1950 as the Memphis Recording Service, Sun Studio hosted hundreds of legendary recording sessions, including Jackie Brenston and Ike Turner's Rocket 88, the song considered by many to be the first rock and roll single. It was at Sun Studio in the 50s that B.B. King, Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, and Jerry Lee Lewis recorded many of their first hits, from blues and gospel to country and rock and roll. On January 3, 1950, Alabama-born DJ Sam Phillips opened his Memphis Recording Service studio at 706 Union Avenue. Among the first recordings cut there are early blues records by Howlin' Wolf and B.B. King. Future R&B icons like Bobby Blue Bland, Rufus Thomas, and Little Milton were also among the first to record at the studio. In March of 1951, the blues rocker Rocket 88, credited to Jackie Brenston but actually performed by Ike Turner's band, was recorded at Memphis Recording Service. The single, released on Chess Records, was considered one of the earliest influential recordings of what would eventually become rock and roll. In April of 1952, Sun Record Company is launched with the release of Drivin' Slow by Johnny London. And in July of 1953, an 18-year-old Elvis Presley, who had graduated from high school just weeks earlier, paid $3.98 at Memphis Recording Service to cut a disc with two songs, My Happiness and That's When Your Heartaches Begin. Asked by Sun Records receptionist Marion Keisker who he sounded like, Presley told her, "I don't sound like nobody." Phillips asked her to get the singer's name, and she also noted, "Good ballad singer, hold." In July of 1954, an entire year after his first recording there, Presley made another attempt to impress Phillips in a session. Finally, everything clicked when Presley, Scotty Moore on guitar, and Bill Black on bass took a shot at Arthur Big Boy Crudup's rocker, That's All Right, Mama. Paired with Presley's distinctive version of the Bill Monroe bluegrass classic, Blue Moon of Kentucky, the record became a regional smash throughout the South. Presley's success led to increased airplay and visibility for several of Sun's future rock and country icons, including Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash, Roy Orbison, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Charlie Rich. In June of 1955, Sun released Johnny Cash's debut single, Cry, Cry, Cry. It became a top 15 country hit. Later in the year, Folsom Prison Blues helped Cash earn a spot on the Louisiana Hayride. And early the next year, I Walk the Line was a pop country crossover smash, and it catapulted Cash into becoming a Grand Ole Opry star. Within months, Sun Records grew significantly, primarily due to the number of records that Presley sold. As Presley's fame grew month by month, Phillips realized that Sun Records was not big enough to handle it. In February 1955, Phillips met with Colonel Tom Parker, an expert in performer management. Parker made Phillips realize that to handle Presley's fame, they needed an international label. Eventually, Phillips finally sold Presley's contract, in exchange for a $5,000 down payment and a $35,000 buyout fee. It was a record-breaking amount for someone who still had to prove himself internationally. Elvis didn't want to leave Sun Records. However, Phillips needed the money to pay debts from a copyright infringement suit. Then, on December 4th, 1956, an impromptu Presley, Perkins, Cash, and Lewis jam session, later known as the $1 Million Quartet, took place. Perkins was recording, and Phillips had taken Lewis into the session to play piano. Johnny Cash was visiting when Presley, who'd already signed RCA, stopped by the studio with a girlfriend. Engineer Jack Clement rolled tape on the jam session, which would not be released on record, in part, until 1981. A complete collection of 46 tracks was issued in 2006. The session also inspired a hit Broadway musical. Perkins and Cash, well, they left Sun in 1958, and Lewis followed them in 1963. In July of 1969, Phillips sold the entire Sun catalog of approximately 7,000 master recordings to Nashville producer and Mercury Records executive Shelby Singleton for $1 million. Phillips retained a stake in the company, and he also retained his music publishing rights. After Singleton moved to Nashville, he sold the large studio to a plumbing company, which then turned it into an auto parts store, and then a barber shop, and eventually a scuba shop. In September of 1985, the building at 706 Union became a recording studio once again when Johnny Cash, Roy Orbison, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Carl Perkins reunited to record the LP Class of '55, Memphis Rock and Roll Homecoming. The bright yellow Sun Records logo, with its 11 sunbeams, would soon become even more iconic and famous as the building opened to tourists who flocked there from all over the world, beginning in 1987. In November of that year, U2 began a 4-day recording session at Sun Studios, cutting 3 songs that were eventually featured on their Rattle and Hum LP and the documentary film. They also recorded She's a Mystery to Me, which Bono and The Edge wrote for Roy Orbison. On February 10th, 1993, 3 hours after their show at Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, English rockers Def Leppard entered Sun Studios to record an acoustic version of their hit Tonight. On July 31st, 2003, the National Park Service designated Sun Studios as a National Historic Landmark. And then, on July 2010, John Mellencamp cut several tracks for his LP, No Better Than This, at Sun Studios, noting that the X's that Phillips had marked on the floor for Cash and Presley attributed to the excellent results he was able to achieve by recording there. Today, Sun Studio is not just a rock and roll museum and a National Historic Landmark. It's also still a working recording studio which hosts sessions from a wide variety of musicians. At Sun Studio, you're able to step into the recording room where history was made and the front office where a young Elvis Presley was discovered. You can see the priceless memorabilia from some of the biggest musical legends of the 50s and beyond. And you can still hear the voices of musicians fill the studio as you listen to outtakes from recording sessions and feel the energy of the music that was created there. Thanks for watching Memory Mountain. If you enjoyed this video, please click to subscribe to our channel and hit that thumbs up button. Be sure to tap the notification bell so you'll be one of the first to know when we post our next story looking back over the landscape of Americana.